All right. Um.
All right, we're live.
Excellent. Just. Right here. Okay. So, let's call this meeting to order. It's 4:31 p.m. on Wednesday, October 15th. I acknowledge with respect that we are in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory, and the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as Wawating. Wawating is the home of Garden River First Nation, Batchelana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. The next item on our agenda is to adopt the minutes of our last meeting. The last meeting was on June 18th, 2025. Could I have someone to move and to second adoption of those minutes? Thank you, Nyla. Thank you, Miranda. Any changes, additions, deletions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Anyone today with a declaration of pecuniary interest on today's agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to adopting our agenda for today. Could I have someone to move into second adoption of today's agenda? Thank you, Miranda. Thank you, Nyla. Any additions or changes to our agenda for today? When seeing none, all in favor of approval of today's agenda? That is carried. Thank you very much. I don't believe there was any business arising from our last meeting. But if you could help me with that, just if I'm not remembering something, okay. All right, moving on. We have some new members of the Cultural Vitality Committee, and joining us today, I'm gonna ask you to say that, so because I know you've had the opportunity to meet these folks, and I have not yet. So Alicia, if you could just share with us who's joined us here.
Okay, so today joining us from Zoom, we have Don Lula up in the top right corner, and in the bottom left corner we have Julie Cho. Welcome to the Cultural Vitality Committee. We have a third member who's not able to make it today, Ann Arnott, and we'll be looking forward to meeting her at our next meeting.
Okay.
Oh my goodness! Thank you.
Oh, okay. That's new.
Perfect.
Okay, Anne, are you there?
I am here.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving right along, we're on item 5.2, the Pall Mall Alley.
Yes.
Alicia.
I'll speak to that a little bit. And for anybody who hasn't had a chance to meet with me yet, we'll just be discussing this moving forward in the next couple of weeks. But ultimately, the Pall Mall Alley display project that's happening was opened in September and it is closed. We've received a number of applications and we'll be moving forward into the task force review process. That task force was set up back in May, I believe, this year. And it's comprised of 2 members of the Cultural Vitality Committee. I was going just to take the temperature and to see how everybody was feeling generally. Everyone still was involved before, and but they're moving forward, it's still willing to stand. I believe that's Lee and yourself. Great, so we will leave that as is for today. And that's all I wanted to say is that it's moving along and we'll be meeting soon as well.
And that's for next year's installation.
So these installations will be selected over the next month or so. Applicants will be informed by December 1st, and we'll have those in place by the end of January, and they'll go to the following January. Great, and we can discuss more on that later moving forward.
Okay, fantastic. Item 5.3 is the graffiti committee membership. So back in October of last year, the graffiti committee was reconstituted in an effort to provide advice to the community around the best way to prevent tagging and manage graffiti while promoting creativity. We are looking, remind me, how many people are we wondering if anybody?
Yeah, we're wondering if anybody else would be interested in joining as we get closer to having a meeting.
Right, so we will be meeting, I understand, within the next 2 to 4 weeks.
Yes.
No specific date yet, but that's the plan from my understanding. I am the only person, yourself as well, but
yes.
I am the person right now who's a member from this committee. Is anyone else interested in participating? Seeing none, that's great. We'll move on to 5.4. Public art master planning. So this particular item has come up as a result of, I believe, a discussion we had and looking at Sean because at our last meeting around the public art in the community, the public art plan, okay, not just the policy, but our public art plan, and that during or prior to, Virginia can correct me if I'm wrong, we started working on, what were the components that we would need to have a public art master plan. It was part of the cultural vitality plan that went in place, I'm gonna say 2020, something like that, right? 2020 to 2024. Were those the years? I think something along those lines. So it was something that was in the plan to be addressed, and we started working on it. The pandemic slowed us down a bit. We've come back to it. Virginia reminded us that we had gathered quite a bit of information during that time, in particular looking at other public art policies around communities in Ontario, what they contained, how they did their plan. As a result, we started a binder for that, and Sean did an extraordinary amount of work in taking the lead on this and gathering more plans, correct? In addition to the ones that were there, you gathered some more current ones?
Yes, but just to emphasize that thanks to Virginia for getting it started and for setting the framework. Because
Right.
it couldn't have happened without that.
That's right. When she brought the book down at the last meeting, I was like, oh my God, I forgot we did all that. So we were reminded of all the work we did before. Sean took that forward, added some more plans, and has added some excellent, and Virginia, you'll have to have a chance to take a look at these. I'm now officially returning the book. But I'd love to have my own copy of it. I'm sure Sean would like to as well. And without killing too many trees, I would even take an electronic version of it just to be able to have it. But there's some really good summaries in there now, Virginia, that Sean put together that compares the components of about 10 other community plans and what we have in place that would fill the need for those components of the plan, or we don't have in place. There is a lot contained within the public art policy that we put together back in, I think, around 2019 or so, something like that, that was new or updated, I guess, at that time. So there's a lot of work there, and I'm going to ask Sean if he and I did have a bit of a discussion about this back in, I think it was August, but I felt really great about what had been gathered so far. Can you share your comments, please? And
Yes, but can I look at the
of
binder?
course. Yeah, thanks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just need to refresh my memory about what was the sort of overall findings. Basically, I mean, to sum it up, my feeling is that this is something that we can move forward as a committee without having to put out tender for a consultant. I'm not going to try and talk anybody out of spending money on like paying somebody to do it. But I mean, realistically, if we don't have the money to do it, it's better for us to just do it. And the main gaps of what we have to do, because and again, this is thanks to Virginia's early analysis as well, comparing what is included in many of the other cultural plans across the province, compared against what we have already within our cultural policy, because our policy is uncharacteristically robust compared to what most other municipalities have. And so what it is that we are largely missing compared to, or in order to really have a plan, in terms of the consistent elements, like, or I should say the core elements, it would be things like, and Virginia mentioned this at the beginning of the process as well, that identification of the prioritization of locations for public art installations. Also, community engagement related to those priorities, and any other, thematic priorities that we may want to have in relation to public art, or we may not want to have any thematic priorities, right? Not a lot of places do. But again, that's for discussion, for engagement, and so on. And yeah, so like some have like curatorial and thematic guidelines. Not every community does. We do have policies related to the care of work and maintenance. And let me just double check any other. Yeah, those are the big gaps. I mean, other things like, do we have a specific vision for the public art master plan itself? No. So that's something that could be an outcome of an engagement process or of a committee decision. And implementation timelines, of course. That's, you have to decide where to put things before you decide when it's going to happen.
Certainly there's a good summary there on the public consultation side, and ideas for things to ask the public and how other communities did their public consultation. So there's a very good summary in the front of the book. For everybody's benefit, Alicia, can you remind me, I know we formed a small subcommittee of this committee, which I know was myself and Sean, and I don't recall who. Was it Nyla?
It's Nyla.
Okay.
I knew I signed up for a committee.
For you next.
Okay. I'm gonna ask now between Alicia and Virginia to look for some direction based on that review, and that I concur, I agree with Sean in terms of, I think that we can drive this forward because we have a lot of material to work with. I think if we were to set at what's the right word? Energetic or whatever timeline for this, as in, we agree whoever is going to continue to be part of this meets on a regular basis. I don't know if it's every 2 weeks or once a month or whatever it's going to be that we all decide on over the next whatever time period, and we figure out who, what, when, where, and why, and we make some things happen. So we do know that there's funding available, and it's been accumulating over the last couple of years. And we wanted, when looking at how we would use that money, we all thought, that's my recollection of the last meeting, and I think that's what the notes represent. We all thought we needed to take a step back, get a plan in place, and then use the funds to do something with an overall vision that's supported by the community, and go from there. So Virginia, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, so just to jump in, thanks Sean and everybody for your work over the summer. I actually do have a doodle poll that's ready to go out, so that I'm off next week, but looking to the last week of October, first week of November, potentially for some dates for everybody to meet, so we can get this kicked off. We did continue to work on some mapping. So some of those maps that you saw over the course of the summer, our staff team upstairs in engineering and Kristen worked on finishing up the mapping. So I think we're pretty much finished all the locations where we have public art in the downtown. So that's a good spot to be in. Kind of our next step, as to Sean's point, would be really looking at what are those potential locations for public art, right? That we have, how much space do we have? What type of art could potentially go in that space? You know, is it a small scale, potentially large scale installation? You know, as we start to look, we've got the waterfront master plan that identified some locations as well. You know, what are we going to be doing in the downtown area? So I think that's kind of that next step. Kind of an exciting opportunity that I think fell on our lap, and Sean can jump in. One of the upper year programs at the university has some field placements, and they're actually a fair, I think it's 150 hours. Sean, correct me if I'm wrong.
That's right.
An upper year student in the program. So Sean, Alicia, and I are going to be meeting to see if this is a good fit. So being able to get that student to really maybe help with some of the consultation, to be able to help with planning that out, and then also being able to, for me, it's an exciting opportunity because they might have a direct connection to really engage with the youth, you know, the Elgin University students, and being able to get to that demographic that we often miss or it's harder to get to. So that could be a really great opportunity to help with this project, and I think a great learning opportunity as well.
Okay, so anyone with other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, Virginia, we will await your meeting invitation. And we will get working on this. We will get working on this. It's a dream come true for an old a dog like me. Okay. Next, the ACAP program. We have the early intake, which has been released, which is the Arts and Culture Assistance Program. The early intake has been released, and it is, I believe applications are due by October 31st. And we're here today to have, and I'm going to ask you to take us through what you want to gather from us in terms of the process review and discussion.
Excellent. So I've been through part of the process with a couple of our newer members very recently in the past few days. For everybody else who's aware, I'll just be quick with that. We often have a large number of applications to review. Did we want to have this conversation now or at the process meeting, or at the meeting where we're actually reviewing about how we're going to do this? So my question is, do we want to split into several segments of people to review applications so that not everybody is reviewing potentially all 30? Or how do we want to approach this? Does anybody have any thoughts? I don't know that I posed that very well, please.
No, I'm picking up what you're putting down. But I think it's worthwhile discussing it now rather than waiting, kicking the can down the road, especially since we are very efficient on our agenda today. I think there's a lot of benefit in breaking up into smaller groups. Not overwhelming everybody. It's a better way to manage conflicts of interest as well. We can be more efficient with those meetings and discussions.
For consistency, I'd like to see, if possible, if we're going to do this, if somebody's reviewing the large project grants, they review all the large project grants.
That makes sense.
So that we, again, consistency in scoring.
Yeah.
That's my biggest concern with that. And then, of course, not allocating money until we get back to the larger group for that discussion. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I concur with that. I think that when you have those projects that are classified under multiple different streams, I think that
won't be an issue this intake.
Wonderful. Never mind.
We changed something.
We updated the form,
Yeah, okay.
not the guidelines. We've updated the form.
Right.
Okay. Right. So it's just one.
So everybody is eligible for one stream only.
Great. Yeah, that's clearer. And yeah, so I think that makes sense. And of course, any committee member can pose questions about any application, but I think that will help to speed things. Well, it's not just about being speedy.
Efficiency is key, though.
Like efficiency is important insofar as it allows us to continue to be rigorous, right? And I think we have, placed a lot of emphasis on the rigor of the discussion, which is great, except that it's also burnt a lot of people out and led to a high turnover on the committee.
Yes. Thank you.
So hold on. Anyone else have a comment? Go ahead.
I would just say it makes sense. Like I was thinking the same thing. I don't know if anyone would think different, but about splitting it into the areas just because it feels like a conversation. I think I've just been part of 3 intakes, but that we do have anyways where we're like, well, we know that, large grants maybe on average score higher, so we're looking at them with a different base mark anyways. So it just feels like a conversation we would inevitably have, and it's not taken away from by the fact that we'd be just like looking at one group. We'd obviously still have the discussion of, but like we know sometimes the scores look different between those different streams, but at least we'd be comparing apples to apples like within the stream.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
I don't agree, so I just, so. But I somewhat agree, but here's what I'm thinking. So I find for myself that reading all applications gives me a different perspective. It makes me more intimately knowledgeable about what is happening in the community, okay? And who's out there trying to do, great things and so on. And as I said, it helps me get a different perspective than if I am in just one stream or another stream. I do understand that the conflict issues can make it challenging, and that could be a way that it's best managed, because I think we did that for the first time last time, if I'm not mistaken, that people who have conflicts, you just stay out of the stream that you're in, right? And you can, but to say, I'm only gonna do one stream or this stream, I think it could perhaps be a person's choice. Okay, so if you were willing, because you didn't have a conflict, or if you have a conflict, stay out of it, right? I think that that's really important. But if you were willing to if you were willing to participate, is a better word, participate in the thorough reading of multiple streams, then I think it's important that a person can do that. If you're not willing to do that, that's it, for whatever constraints you might have, then there's nothing wrong with that, that's fine. But I also think it's very important to get, we are a small group of people, okay? And if we don't have enough people looking, okay, then we go down, it can potentially not be as good of an adjudication. We're all here for a reason. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have something to bring towards this. And we are the people who are recommending how taxpayer dollars would get spent to support the growth of arts in the community. So if we end up with certain streams that, where there's only one, there needs to be more than X number. There needs to be 3 or more, or something like that.
By our guidelines, it indicates that everybody on the committee should do it for every grant stream for every application. And I don't know that we can make that happen with conflicts.
And I agree, like I understand, I know that and that's fine, we can change the rules for the purposes of the conflict. And because I know for me, because I had a conflict last time, it really makes it simple. You don't have anything to do with anyone else in the category that you're in. You stay out of it. You're not in the conversations. You're not reading whatever it is. But when you don't have a conflict, and if you're willing to, maybe we need to see how many applications we get, how many in each one, who's got conflicts in where. And then for people who are willing to do as much as they can, great. And for others who, for whatever reason, and it's perfectly fine, aren't, then, but we need to make sure we have enough. You need 3 or 4, or ideally 5 or whatever. I don't know how many are we now?
We're
7,
we're
8?
10 now.
We're 10. 10?
10.
It's an even number?
We have 10 right now.
We have 10 people?
With Sunny Spina, we have 10.
And I should know, but can you remind me really quickly how many streams that there are that you could apply within?
There's small and large, small project, large
Yeah.
project, community events. I was gonna say that major cultural events, diversity, operations, and seed. So it's a lot.
But we don't always see
So
6.
really, I was gonna say 6 really, because we don't often see many seed applications.
Yeah.
Right,
Usually it's 1 or 2.
well, because we don't have enough money for seed. Well, it's true, I mean, when you need seeds, you usually need. But anyways, whatever, it's still out there, it's still an opportunity, people can apply for it, the guidelines are there, the rules are there. So that's my opinion differs slightly from yours, I think the streamlining is good, I think that we've become much more efficient at doing it. But we wanna make sure that we get the balanced review. And personally speaking, I find I'm more knowledgeable when I read more things.
What I can tell you that no matter what we do to move forward, what you can expect from me is the applications, in their full form. With a redacted version that will go in the agenda package later, but upfront you'll have the applications with their corresponding attachments. I will also be reviewing them at that point. Anything that is not complete will not be included. So there's that. Looking at those moving forward, I will also be providing a synopsis of each application. I will send that to the entire committee. From there, I expect that we'll be getting those scores back from everybody else again we can talk about the details later and our new members know when they don't know because I haven't met everybody yet officially, but I was gonna say that we'll get those scores back from everybody, we'll compile them prior to the meeting and be able to review them. I think at the point, you'll also get a list of the applications like upon receipt, as after closing rather on the 31st. And you should be able to identify from those requests, who has conflicts when immediately. So I think we can kind of pick that conversation up again. I agree, I think that a balanced conversation regarding these applications is key. But at the same time, I also want to make sure that we're not just, for example, in past intakes, I've seen in an effort to get to 4 or an effort to get to 3 or 4 people, not always being possible depending on the grant stream. And people having conflicts will often have 2 very different reviewers from one person, from 2 applications in the major project stream versus elsewhere, and that's not allowing for consistency either. So we're either doing it intentionally, I think, or we're not, and then we're having that conversation to round ourselves out afterwards to make sure that everything is coming back full circle. I think that's a lot of jargon, sorry, but but at the same time, so I think there's more to be done here, but I think in the short term, I think we can move forward and then continue to discuss. I think that looks like.
Chiming in, whether we decide to, break up in streams or not, I do think, people should have the choice to, if they want to be involved in multiple or all, by all means, totally. What else? Sorry, I had something else and now it's gone. I like that idea of, okay, if you're declaring a conflict, just don't do that particular stream. Right. I think it's also important that we ensure that there's at least a minimum number of
Yes,
reviewers for each stream. So to me, that sort of floor would be like 3 people.
yes.
And so if we could have at least 3 for each stream, that would be ideal. And that'll require some people to, with 6 streams, it'll require some people to.
And we won't know until we get the
Yeah.
applications,
Yeah.
right?
It's not even if, because I don't think I've been in intake with all 6 streams, but not even necessarily that you do one, but if everyone showed up and we had 6 streams, if everyone did, was responsible for 3 streams, then you'd only be reviewing half the applications, maybe still reading them, but then all of the streams would have at least 3 people in them.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily that like everyone's just doing one stream, but just for me, it's the scoring. I agree for sure. I want to obviously like read them all. I find the thing that's like hard sometimes getting through all of them is the reading to score. But for some
Right.
reason, the last one did seem to go a lot smoother in discussion and even in like personal scoring. So maybe it was just practice kind of thing. I don't know.
For all
But
of
if you
us.
do it a few times, you know a little bit more what you're looking for. But
I think
yeah,
last-
that's fair. Like being able to have a full round. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry,
Until
I
you
interrupted
go.
you.
You go.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think last time what we did differently was that rather than like ask every single person to comment on every single application, we just said like, okay, this was the score, the collective
Yes.
score. Did anybody have something that they wanted to say?
Yes.
And that moved things.
Like actual to say.
Yeah.
For sure.
And the important part about that is that we don't all necessarily, even though we all read carefully. We don't always read the same thing, and
Yep.
many times
Yes.
I know that Miranda has said something, I was like, oh my God, I didn't think about it quite like that, or
Mhm.
whatever, and others, everybody has had that experience. I've seen everybody do that.
Yeah.
And that's important to take that time to make sure that, cause we're learning from each other and we're impacted by each other's experience, and that's, that's what makes it robust and thorough and.
I think if the first part of the review is efficient, which this method promises to make it so, we'll have more opportunity for that generative rich discussion. I also think that doing it this way means the impacts for the first timers here are a little less because it can be really overwhelming. And it'll maybe be a softer learning experience as well. And we'll have more time to talk about it.
Now, anybody with a question or a comment who's not, Don, yeah, go ahead, Don.
Being new to the community, I'm not going to have as many conflicts of interest as you, and I do have a high attention to detail. So if there is a committee that seems to have a few more conflicts of interest, do not hesitate to put me on there to do a bit more reviewing. My schedule, I'm a small business owner, but in another week or so, my schedule starts to dissipate, like not be as heavy on this end for that. So I have no problem picking up if there's some areas that you need assistance in, just to let you know.
Thank you. Did we get anywhere with the public discussion part of this? In terms of the actual adjudication, or were we?
So you got some feedback from like the cultural forum.
Yes, I mean, just, I don't have it in front of me, but just generally the conversation tends to be that the forums are terrible. But they've since been updated. That it's a bit of a taxing process for often not a whole lot of payout. Is the conversation that they've had easier intake processes, or people have been part of easier intake processes for more money than what's typically allocated here. And so in trying to make this as easy as possible and as approachable and accessible in a myriad of ways, I'm hoping that this will be more helpful. Again, we have updated the forms, so they are no longer corrupted. They should work with everybody's current version of Adobe. And if they don't, people can email me directly for a copy of the Word version, which I'll be checking stringently to make sure that all of the fields have been properly filled out before accepting as PDF.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. Okay, if there's nothing further on that item. We do not have a subcommittee or task force updates, do we?
no, just that the mention earlier of Pall Mall Alley, but also we'll move forward with that as is, and that's everything for now, I believe.
Okay. I don't believe we have anything in new business. No. Okay. Does anybody have anything that they want to address? I do want to say, I don't know if it belongs to this, but we're almost at the end, so I'm gonna just pick top now to do it. I saw something today that I thought was absolutely wonderful. Don't anybody panic. I know sometimes when I start like that, people will be like, oh my God, what's she gonna say? And I don't know why this happened. I don't know if it's because the Legion is now on Great Northern Road, okay? Or if there's another reason for it. But today I saw, in recognition of what's coming up as Remembrance Day, that banners have been installed on Great Northern Road recognizing veterans. And it is arts, but it's not really arts, but in a way, it's a recognition of our veterans. And those banners, I don't know if they are downtown as well as on Great Northern Road. But I do want to say, and just to encourage you to think about it, that seeing that type of display on Great Northern Road, which so often, if not always, is left out of the conversation around imaging and how the community is represented, let's say. It made me so happy. It just makes me so happy to see that while our downtown is a very important place to represent and recognize the community and art and culture, there's more to this city than here. And I just thought, wow, yay. Whoever figured out how to do that or what to do that, congratulations. So drive up and down Great Northern Road and you can see they're on the west side. I don't know if they're going on both sides, but they're on the west side.
Thanks for sharing.
Really nice to see. All right. Do we have any correspondence?
No correspondence.
All right, next meeting is it's November 15th, I believe, right?
So the 17th, let me just.
17th, oh, maybe.
But that will be our first Arts and Culture Assistance Program review meeting.
Okay,
So I'll make sure that everybody has the updated information immediately. That's on the 17th. It is on the 19th.
oh, the 19th,
19th.
okay.
Yeah, so make sure
Okay.
everyone's got everything that they need. And we'll be in touch in early November with those documents for ACAP. And I'll be meeting with anybody who would like to meet or anybody who happens to be new to talk about what the process is and how to move forward with it.
Fantastic. That's our next meeting, so if there's nothing further, I need a mover and a seconder to adjourn. Thank you, Nyla, thank you, Sean, all in favor of adjourning today's meeting. That is carried, thank you very much, see you all in November. I'll see some of you.